Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are just a little over 2 weeks away from release now, which means the games could very well leak online at any moment now. In fact, just a couple of days ago, we got these new images of what the covers for the games will look like, and for the first time, we get to see the back covers of Scarlet and Violet here. And I should clarify, these are for promotional purposes only, so there's no actual game cartridge inside the boxes, so it doesn't necessarily mean someone has Scarlet and Violet already, but it seems like the Great Leak is going to be flooding in any second now. We're going to see pretty much all of the new Pokemon and information for Scarlet and Violet, so I thought today we'd take a look at some of the potential Pokemon we're going to be seeing thanks to this website, Makio.it by Makio and J Roses. They've compiled all of the rumors, leaks, and fan art for the new Pokemon that will potentially make it into Scarlet and Violet. Of course, none of this is 100% confirmed until the real games leak, but I thought it'd be fun to take a look at this potential Pokedex and then compare it to when the actual Pokedex leaks. So if you guys are excited, make sure to smash that like button and stay tuned November 18th when I will be starting my playthrough of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So let's get started with the starters, of course. Sprigatito up first. We've got Sprigatito 2 fan art by Stargard, and what I love is that they actually include the reference to what this fan art is based off of. So for Sprigatito, you can see it's holding a little wand there because this was actually a real leak posted by Kaka a long time ago, though it's not clear if that's like part of its tail or a little yo-yo or a wand as the fan art makes it seem here. But it seems that the theme for Sprigatito's evolution will be that of a magician. So here we have Sprigatito 3, the magician Pokemon, and you already know what I'm gonna say. I really hope that Sprigatito would stay on all fours, but of course, the trend with starter Pokemon since like, I want to say X and Y is that they always evolve into a bipedal humanoid creature that Rule 34 artists can have a party with. So here we have Sprigatito's final evolution, which is apparently going to be a grass and dark type. They also give us a little bit of information to what the fan art is based off of. So you can see here, Nyakasu in Japanese, clown, gentleman, thief, mask, two-legged, has a god tier hidden ability, and of course, humanoid. All of this coming from various leakers and rumor accounts like Friddler Coup. And this actually was also posted by Kaka a while ago, I believe, of Sprigatito's final form. A little bit of a collar of flower petals, and like I mentioned, magician Pokemon is apparently what it's going to be called, which definitely makes me think of Delphox. Maybe these two are going to be like a fire and grass counterparts of each other. It makes me wonder if it'll actually have the magician ability, because that ability is good, but it's not really god tier broken, as the little text here says. Moving on to the Fire Croc Fuecoco, one of my favorites, of course, because it's got the little orange that it sizzles and burns, and its evolution is apparently going to be a fire and ghost type, although we don't know if it's already going to be that in its secondary form or when it gets to its third and final stage evolution, which we have a fan art of here, actually on 4 legs. So it's not Sprigatito that's 4-legged or quadruped, I think is the scientific term, but Fuecoco instead, who can stand either on all 4s or just on 2, kind of like Typhlosion, I want to say. So the main idea with Fuecoco's evolution is that apparently it has an egg on its head in its second form, and then in its final form, that egg hatches into some type of phoenix firebird, which is really interesting to me. You can actually see the little bit of a hint of something coming out of Fuecoco's head, but I never would have imagined it's a freaking phoenix. Not the biggest fan of this idea. I mean, I'm sure that it'll end up looking better in-game and like the official artwork, but at least so far, I don't really know if I like where they're going with Fuecoco's evolution. But it is, of course, going to be a fire and ghost type, which is just like Hisuian Typhlosion we just got in Legends Arceus. Could this be the start of a new trend? Like we had 3 firefighting starters back to back to back. Now we're going to have another fire ghost in Gen 10. But finally, we're going to move on to Quaxly, the absolute derp duckling, who is apparently going to be evolving into a water and fighting type. And we've got this fan art here also by Stargard, where it has a bit of a red bang. I don't know if that's hair or part of the hat, but I do like his attitude, giving us the little wink there. And all the info we've got on it is that it stands on 2 legs. So moving on to the final form, we've got Quaxly 3, where the little red piece of hair now becomes a full-on brow. And obviously you can see the theme of it is a dancer. So Sprigatito's the magician, Fuecoco the singer, and Quaxly the dancer. Peacock dancer, two-legged humanoid, and like I said, water and fighting type. Here's actually fan art slash rumor that I saw a long time ago during the Kaka leaks of what that final Evo is going to look like, and I might have to say this is my favorite so far, at least from the rumored fan art. Like, the design looks the coolest to me. Next we have everyone's favorite meme from Gen 9, Lechonk, who is apparently going to have a different evolution based on its gender, and you can see these fan arts here by Ondu Region look very, very interesting. A very stark difference between the male and female there. I mean, specifically the female form, I'm not really sure what's going on. I guess the whole idea of when pigs fly could be the inspiration there, considering the wings. And of course, the male version looks like it would be a normal and ground type, which I believe both of them might actually be, or well, here we don't actually know just yet, but based off the design, I would probably guess normal and ground. And as you can see, evolution with gender difference, Shiny is white and pink to look more like a regular pig. Next up is Pawmi, the pure electric type mouse Pokemon that I'm still not sure if it's actually the Pikachu clone of this gen. I mean, the design with the little cheeks definitely tells you it is, but apparently it's gonna have an evolution that becomes the first ever electric and fighting type. And not just that, there's actually 3 stages for it, and we've seen a leak of this a very, very long time ago. I believe I covered it on the channel, and this is supposed to be Pawmi's 3rd and final stage, even though to me it looks like the middle stage, like at least this artwork or in-game screenshot of it. So I'm not really sure about what the 2nd stage could look like. If this is already the 3rd stage, this definitely looks like the middle child to me, and then there would be a more epic or stronger looking Pokemon as the final one. But like I mentioned, first ever electric and fighting type, and has a new move with 1 PP that can bring a Pokemon back to life, which we heard about along with this image that came out. Still feel like Zeraora got robbed of being the first ever electric fighting type, but I guess I'll give it to Pawmi as long as it actually evolves and it's not just another generic Pikachu clone. But speaking of generics, Smoliv's evolution might be one of the more disappointing, at least to me personally. It's also going to have 2 stages, so it evolves twice, staying a grass and normal type throughout. But you can see the fan art for its final evolution there. Kind of looks like a humanoid tree with olives for braids, like a long ponytail growing out. I mean, it's not bad, but I guess I was expecting a different direction, not just another grass girl Pokemon like we've had Sarina, Lilligant. There's definitely some other ones I'm not thinking of because they all just kind of blend together, and I was hoping Smoliv would step away from that kind of cliche, but another absolute meme is Fido, the pure fairy type puppy Pokemon, who I said was going to be fully baked when it evolves, and it seems that I might have been onto something because, at least according to this fan art here by Ondu Region, it's literally a baked dog right here. And this is really the only hint that we had towards that. Like, come on. You'd think it'd become a fire and fairy type if it's been sitting in the oven heating up, but nothing wrong with a pure fairy, and I really like the design of it being the only evolution of Fido. Like, it only has 1 evolution after. But that's not the only puppy Pokemon this generation, because the most recent revelation was, of course, Greavard, the ghost dog Pokemon who burrows underground and you just see the little candle and apparently it sucks your soul away while you play with it. This little dog will also have just 1 evolution, and you can see what it might potentially look like with this fan art by Mad Zygarde Core, although there doesn't seem to be much basis towards it, so I would actually kind of imagine Greavard evolving into something a little more plump and full, considering what the first evolution looks like. But then again, with Pokemon like Yamper, we've seen it goes from a little ball to a freaking race dog, so I guess Greavard's evolution might end up looking like this. You can see there's a full candle holder, not just the little stick, and it's got a fire wispy tail at the end, so I could imagine those elements at least making it, but maybe not the design to look exactly like this. Now we finally get to some of the new Pokemon yet to be revealed at all, starting with a dark type dog. Here's a fan art of what that might look like by Shiny Light Moon. There are so many dogs is the hint that a lot of leakers have been saying. There's a lot of new dog Pokemon in this generation. We've already seen 2 of them with Fido and Greavard. Apparently there's also going to be a dark type dog that also has at least 1 evolution. And I actually really like this fan art. Like, oh man, with the freaking spike mohawk and the chains coming out from the bottom of it. That looks freaking sick. I also love how there's like a crescent moon as a tail, of course, dark type and the moon. Yeah, I guess that's basically the only info we get from it, is that there's just a lot of dog Pokemon. One of those will be a pure dark type. Can't wait to see the full dog breeder team with the Emperor, now all three of these little doggies. There's gotta be at least one more dog. Next up, we've got our early bug Pokemon, which this time is gonna take the form of a spider. We don't really know at all what it's gonna look like. This fan art could be totally wrong. We just know that there will apparently be a spider Pokemon, and it's gonna have at least one evolution too that's still pure bug type. Though I would probably guess it evolves into a dual type. Maybe bug and fire would be interesting. Here's another early bug Pokemon we're gonna encounter based off a dung beetle, and I love this fan art. Like, if there's actually a Pokemon that's based on a dung beetle, I could totally see it looking like this, even having these little ghosty wisps coming out. So good job, Luis. It's a new beetle Pokemon based on dung beetles, like I said, and can also be found in early routes, just like the spider. It'll also have an evolution that's apparently bug and psychic. Oh my god, that looks sick. What the frick? Bug and psychic definitely makes me think of Orbeetle that we just had in Gen 8, so kind of interesting that they would do bug and psychic again, but it's not a bad typing, and the idea of its little dung pile becoming a source of light is really cool, so I would love to see this. There is yet another bug Pokemon found early on, this time a bug and dark type based on a cricket, and its evolution based off Kamen Rider, which, if you don't know, is kind of like Power Rangers or Super Sentai, but they have a bit more of a bug-shaped looking mask. So basically it's going to go from a cricket to a bipedal humanoid fighting cricket. Can run behind the player and cause irritation, and found in early routes. So bug and dark type probably means that spider Pokemon's not going to end up bug and dark, because we already have a dark bug, psychic bug. Maybe we just need one pure bug. Next though, we've got the early bird Pokemon for this gen, which I'm really surprised we haven't seen in any trailers yet. Like, usually the early bird, early bug are like the first Pokemon revealed alongside the starters, but this gen's early bird is apparently going to be based on a seagull and actually be a flying and electric type. And I've actually seen a lot of kind of rumors about this happening. I think back when Iono's trailer was coming out, someone thought that the seagull would be seen in the background, and you know, she's an electric gym leader, so an electric type would make sense, but it is also going to have an evolution, and according to Riddler Coup, it looks amazing and very fierce. I don't know if fierce is the first word that comes to mind when I look at least this fan art. It definitely reminds me of Xatu with the kind of sneaky look that it's got going there. Also not sure what's going on with the pool floaty around its neck, or maybe it's one of those pills from Dr. Mario. It definitely doesn't make it look fierce though. I don't know, it's a little goofy. Again, these fan arts aren't supposed to look exactly like the real Pokemon will, because we don't know, or at least very few people seem to know. It's more just to give you an idea of what Pokemon will be in the game, and it seems that we will in fact have a seagull that is flying and electric. And another regional bird is going to be this parakeet, which we actually saw leaked during the overview trailer that Pokemon has yet to address. There was like 3 new Pokemon leaked over there, and this was one of them. Apparently it's not going to have an evolution or anything, it's just a singular Pokemon, which is going to be a normal flying type. We haven't actually had a normal flying in a couple of games now, right? Because even Rookie D was just pure flying, so interesting. They're going back to what used to be the tried and true for early birds. Like, almost all of them back in the day were normal flying. Very different from Chatot apparently, and that's because this guy has alternative forms, and we can see one of them here. To be honest, this looks more like an evolution than an alternate form to me, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up evolving and maybe the person that saw this leaked got confused. But according to Riddler Coup, you need to collect them, so I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean, if there's like a ton of different forms, kind of like Oricorio, or if it's just going to be these 2 that we have fan arts of, but definitely interested to see what ends up happening with this little parrot. Gen 9 is finally going to bring us our first flamingo Pokemon, it seems, which is a concept people have been asking for freaking forever. I think I remember, especially in Pokemon Sun and Moon, everybody was saying, we need a flamingo, we need a dolphin. Apparently we're finally going to get one, and it is going to be a flying and fighting type, which we actually saw a leaked image of a very, very long time ago. Again, it's pretty freaking blurry, so you can't really tell what that is, but supposedly it's a flamingo, and it is going to be a flying and fighting type. Moving on to yet another flying type, or is it? Because this little ostrich is apparently a pure psychic type, which reminds me of Cleopatra in the hairstyle. I believe this was first hinted by Kaka, who then said, "Sorry, there's something I said wrong. The ostriches evolve once." Wonder why he said ostriches and not just ostrich, because it seems like there's just one ostrich here. Now you can see a lot more why it reminds them of Cleopatra with the... I can't with this artwork, man. What is going on? I mean, I really like the design of its plumage here. It's almost like a weird abstract painting. Just randomly Googling, I found an artwork of the evolution by the same artist that did the original. We've got the Intelligent Ostrich Psychic Type Final Evolution. I actually like this artwork a lot more, even though it doesn't look like Cleopatra anymore, which was the hint that we got from the Riller. This guy's got a brain exposed head here. I mean, Kaka said the ostriches will evolve, not just the ostrich, so who knows? Maybe this also has a different female and male type. Oh, wait, literally right here on Twitter, we've got the female version, which does have the Cleopatra-like hair, so yeah, that might end up being a thing, kind of like Unpheasant. Very different final evolution based on gender. Not much to say about this little guy. We've got the pre-evolution of Cetitan, which looks absolutely adorable in this fan art here by Fakemon Aura Dex. Oh my god. I figured Cetitan looked like a fully evolved Pokemon. Wasn't sure if it actually would have a pre-evolution, but apparently it will, and it looks adorable. It is like a little whale version of Spheal. And at number 38, we finally got the Dolphin, which is going to be a pure water type. Its evolution, though, has a surprise. It doesn't evolve? It literally looks the same. Wait, this is the hint that we got towards what it looks like. Pretty sure that comes from a Yu-Gi-Oh card. But alongside it, there's also just a regular dolphin emoji, so I'm a little bit confused. Apparently there's two different forms. One is bipedal and looks like a superhero, and the other just a regular dolphin. I am very, very confused by this. Like, I guess one of the forms doesn't look that different from the first evolution or first form of it, but then the other one, we've got this superhero with a heart-shaped belt. I mean, I definitely know which one I like more, but, you know. Now, according to this website, Bellibolt will have a pre-evolution, which is something I thought about. Bellibolt does look like an evolved Pokemon, or maybe even a pre-evolution that would evolve further. Either way, it just doesn't look like a standalone, single electric frog dude. So according to rumors, it's gonna have a pre-evolution. Or an evolution. I don't really know. The hints here could go either way. But this is where things start to get a little fishy. And I'm not just saying that because of this Pokemon. Okay, no, I totally am making a pun, because we've got a Hakefish, Psychic, and Water type, based off of this leaked image we saw a very long time ago. However, we don't know what its full body will look like yet, but both of these fan arts look freaking sick. I guess I prefer this one slightly more because it's a little more unique with whatever's going on its head there. This one kind of looks more like a regional form of Barraskewda, maybe fused with Basculegion, which is apparently going to be a water and psychic type. So next we've got... Why is there a Sonic character right here? I do remember hearing rumors about a fairy type with a big hammer a long time ago, and I immediately thought of that villain from the Steven Universe movie, not freaking Amy Rose or whatever this character's name is. The color of the Pokemon with the hammer is pink. You can catch it in early routes. A fairy and steel type in an early route? Bro, there don't seem to be any more hints about it, but I guess it's a 3-staged Pokemon. Like, you catch it early on and it evolves twice, so maybe it's kind of like the Ralts of this generation. Next, we've got Coin. Just Coin. This is another Pokemon we've heard rumors of from pretty much the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet leak season, and that it's apparently going to be like the Spiritomb Wisps that we collected in Legends Arceus, that you have to go around the overworld collecting these little coins, and once you gather enough of them, the Pokemon can evolve. It's not really a coin, just a code name, so I'm not sure what it's actually gonna be, but I guess it resembles a coin, and it is rumored to be half ghost type, but we don't know its secondary typing yet. I mean, I guess the speculative here is ghost and steel type, but once you do collect all those coins, it evolves into a stand from JoJo? Oh no, it's Golden Ningen, which means liquid metal. I thought Ningen means human. I have no idea what any of this means, but again, we've got Gold Ningen, which apparently means liquid metal, but I'm pretty sure Ningen is human. So golden human, like a humanoid form, and that does fit with the fan art we see here. So here we have a front runner for my favorite rumored Pokemon, the fire and grass type little Pepper. Oh my goodness, I love this fan art of it. Like, if the Pokemon ends up looking exactly like this, I'm sold, dude. I need a little fire Pepper on my team. This is just adorable. And being the first ever fire and grass type, like, that's another typing that people have been wanting in the games forever. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, but it's called the Habanero Kappa, and it will at least have one evolution, which is seen here, kind of looking like a Komodo dragon pepper thing. This is actually really cool, but it kind of reminds me of a Pokemon from Xenoverse. Definitely a bit of similarity. I mean, this one's on 4 legs and looks more Komodo than whatever this kind of lizard is, but when it runs behind the player, it can cause irritation. I've seen this said twice now about this Pokemon and the Common Rider, so I wonder what that exactly means. Like, does the Pokemon get irritated by running behind you, or does it irritate the player because they're so quick? Or maybe they mean it causes irritation to the grass as it runs along. Maybe it burns the grass behind it. That would definitely be interesting. But speaking of fire, we've got the pre-evolution of Armarouge / Ceruledge, which are going to be version exclusives, of course, but I guess the pre-evolution can be found in either game, and I would probably guess is a pure fire type because the 2 evolutions are Fire Psychic, Fire Ghost. It would make sense for the pre-evo to just be fire. And we did actually see this little guy again in that overview trailer that kind of had a couple of Pokemon snuck in there. Now, this is one of the very first Pokemon that we ever saw leaked, and at least when I first saw it, I didn't think for 1 second that it was real, and that's because I didn't fully understand that the purple skull on its head is actually the Terastal hat for Poison type. But this is going to be a Poison and Rock type, which is a pretty interesting combination there. Leaked image is the 2nd stage, and you'll catch her late game. Oh, so this is the 2nd evolution, so I guess technically this page here. And yeah, the only hint that we got for it was bad news for whatever that is. If you are a fan of rock types and you want something a little earlier on, fret not, because we got Salt! Another Pokemon we saw during the overview trailer, which basically looks like a rock mushroom from Mario. It's got 2 evolutions, with the hint being Minecraft. Like, apparently its evolution will literally look like a Minecraft character made of blocks. I just don't really get how this is even a Pokemon. I mean, I know we've had rocks that are sentient before, but this is the most inorganic looking one, I suppose. Like, it just doesn't look like it would be alive at all, and especially when we look at its evolution here, it's literally just a block from Minecraft, and then the final form is a block person. Then again, this hint is coming from the one and only Riddler, so maybe there's more to meets the eye than this hint here of Minecraft. This is definitely more up my alley, the Poison and Steel type engine Pokemon, which we've seen a couple of times now as the Starmobile that Team Star uses as a boss battle, and it's basically been all but confirmed at this point that it is in fact a Pokemon. Like, look at this fan art right here, you can clearly see the tongue sticking out, and in fact we even saw what could be its pre-evolution during one of the latest trailers there. You can see there's a smaller little eye with a horn coming out of the back attached to this rock wheel on the back of the Starmobile. Is it the same on or pre-evo? The Riddler says it doesn't look like this or that in previous trailers when merging with the vehicle. So the actual Pokemon itself is not going to look like what it looks like in the trailers, like when it's attached to the car. Maybe it'll look more like the fan art we have here from Mad Zygarde Core, where it's almost like a spider-like thing with the exhaust pipes being legs instead. And like I said, it is going to have at least 1 evolution, so I still think that maybe the one attached to the rock is the pre-evolution, and then it becomes this whole engine. Yet another new ghost type coming to Gen 9 is going to be this Tumbleweed, which is a really cool concept. The fact that there's like souls trapped inside of it, because I've always thought that Tumbleweeds kind of have a mind of their own. I mean, I don't really know if they're alive, but the way they just randomly happen to tumble by, it almost makes you think there's something sinister happening there. So Pokemon took that concept and made it into a grass and ghost type, which will apparently have an evolution that we don't have a unique fan art form, but I guess just confirms that it's a 2-stage. Now, one rumor that really caught me by surprise is that apparently Grafaiai, the graffiti Pokemon, will actually have a pre-evolution. Because I look at Grafaiai and immediately I think this is a first stage or maybe a Pokemon that doesn't evolve at all. In a million years, I would not have guessed that it's actually a fully evolved Pokemon and it has a pre-evolution instead. So like a smaller version of Grafaiai that looks more like a mouse, apparently. Those babies look freaking terrifying, dude. Already the eye was creepy enough. I do not want to imagine what baby Grafaiai is gonna look like. So let's look at a cuter mouse Pokemon instead. We've got the mouse couple, because apparently this Pokemon leaked on the minimap is actually one Pokemon. And I never noticed until now that you can actually tell that, because one has a little bit of a gray spot on its chest while the other has pants on, like we see on this fan art here, implying that they are, what's the word? I don't want to sound ignorant, but Ku says it's a parent and child love, not like a male, female, mom and dad type of thing. And they have alternative forms, so I'm kind of curious if this mouse family idea we see here for an evolution might just be an alternate form instead, because I can't imagine 4 Pokemon together in a little sprite. Like, we already have 2 and that seems big enough. I can't imagine 4 Pokemon all together like this, but I guess the idea is really cute. Kind of like execute a whole bunch of eggs as one Pokemon. Now we have 4 mice being one single unit. They couldn't have chosen any other artwork for this, like, come on. Yet another absolute meme of a Pokemon is the giant enemy crab known as Cloth, which is apparently going to be a single Pokemon. Like, there's no pre-evolution or evolution, and I suppose that makes sense considering it is one of the Titans. Like, it's already, I mean, this guy is an absolute unit with how big it is. I couldn't imagine it getting bigger if it potentially evolved. So I guess Cloth just stands on his own, because the next Pokemon on this list at least is going to be an Earthworm, which is a Steel type? Wait a minute. Now you got my attention. Earthworm boss slash Titan Pokemon, and I guess this was the hint about it that we saw in a trailer a long time ago. There were these like things burrowing underground, sometimes spouting dust into the air. I'd have to imagine these being pretty freaking huge if that's what they looked like in the trailer. Maybe they're like those sandworms from Dune? Absolutely terrifying if that's gonna be a Titan Pokemon. Ah, so this is a whole segment on the Titan Pokemon, because next there's this crane, apparently. My god, that looks freaking terrifying, man. I can't imagine just being out on a stroll and suddenly this comes attacking you out of the sky. Like, I'd have nightmares for the next month. But I guess this is the confirmation of it being flying and dark type. Kaka just put a gif of Umbreon. This fan art does look pretty cool. I like the design of its like feathers behind its head. So if that's another one of the Titan Pokemon, could be pretty interesting. And next we've got a giant sushi fish? Wait, there's no way this is... Okay, it's not another... Oh, it does say boss Pokemon. What? Dragon sushi fish duo with sushi master? What is this? How is it? What am I looking at right now, bro? It's not what we expect. Yeah, I would imagine that a Pokemon's not gonna look like just a guy serving up sushi. Maybe they're implying that the final boss Pokemon will be a duo of 2 Titans, one being the dragon and the other the Dragon Master. So could be that the Sushi Master rides on the dragon's back, kind of like we've seen in a fantasy show that I really liked recently. It says it's not what we expect though, and that apparently it looks like a catfish. The sushi fish itself though looks really cool, and I have heard a lot of rumors about this, so I do imagine there's going to be some type of sushi-based dragon in Gen 9, and I can't wait to see what it actually looks like. But next we've got Wiglet, the first regional fake of this generation, which in case you don't know, is a new type of regional form that's not actually a regional form, but a totally new Pokemon that just so happens to look like an old Pokemon, but it's not actually the old Pokemon. I'm over the whole convergent species thing at this point. It's just Wiglet, pure water type, garden eel, and it's gonna evolve into Trio, who's pink, I guess, and probably has a secondary typing. I would be very disappointed, to be honest, if Wiglet just ends up evolving into another Trio, like just 3 Wiglets together. Like, I want it to be a little more unique, but according to Riddler Ku, it's obvious that it's gonna be Trio, so prepare yourself to be disappointed, I suppose. But of course, Wiglet's not going to be the only regional fake, because we've also got a grass-type version of Tentacool, which I'm going to imagine its name is going to be similar to Tentacool, but since it's grass, it might be Tentagruel. I got nothing, bro. Tentavine, maybe, because it's a grass type and its tentacles become vines instead, with this fan art here at least showing it as white and green. Of course, it still evolves into Tentacruel and is tentatively being called the grass and ground type. At least I think that's ground and not rock. And here in this fan art, you can kind of see a weirdly shaped pineapple on its head and a gem. And apparently those are the only 2 regional fakes that we're going to have in Gen 9. There's going to be some regional forms, of course, which we haven't really gotten to yet, but I guess we might as well start with Paldean Wooper, who we've already seen officially revealed as a poison and ground type, but its evolution is rumored to be based off of the design of Beta Wooper, which I absolutely love. Beta Wooper, this is like one of the best beta Pokemon ever. There's literally no other info on it other than it's probably going to be poison and ground type, so basically it's not going to be Paldean Quagsire. It evolves into a totally different Pokemon. But as you probably saw, the other Paldean regional form we're going to have is for Tauros, and not just 1 or 2, but 3 Paldean Tauroses will be gracing the fields of this new region, with the first one being a pure fighting type, with the fan art here of course being based off of the fake leak that Doodlebeard made a long time ago. Just because this has been confirmed fake, it doesn't mean the real regional Tauros isn't going to be a thing. In fact, it might even look close to what we've got here, because like I said, there's actually 3 different Paldean Tauroses, with the second one apparently going to be a fighting and fire type, and the final one being fighting and water type, which is very interesting. I would think that if there's a regional Tauros, the base form would be fighting type, and then it's got a split evolution for fire and water depending on like where you raise it, but I guess they're just 3 completely different forms and it's all Tauros. And I love how this dude just recolored the same fan art. Like, I'm about to draw Tauros 3 times, man. Let's go back to the full Pokedex though. Where did we leave off? Yes, we've got an Ice Dragon, literally Ice Dragon type, with some very cute fan art here by Shiny Light Moon. New Dragon Ice Pokemon, pseudo legendary, that you'll catch in the late game, obviously, because it is a pseudo legendary. But Dragon and Ice type, only one I can think of off the top of my head is Kyurem, a non-legendary, but basically legendary in terms of stats, because that's what a pseudo legendary is. Sounds pretty dang awesome. And if it ends up looking like this, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is not my favorite concept here. It kind of looks like a Cryogonal with just a head attached to it. Non-legendary version of Kyurem though, and the fact it's a pseudo legend, no doubt it's gonna be popular. I just hope it ends up looking very different from the concept that we've got here. Just not a huge fan, and that's no shade on the artist. Obviously, it's a concept. We don't actually know what it's gonna look like, but just the fact we're getting a Dragon Ice pseudo legend, yeah, that's gonna be very popular. But to wrap up the Paldean regional decks, we've got a couple of new evolutions for classic Pokemon. Well, at least one of them is a classic, and Primeape here, whose new evolution is gonna be a fighting and ghost type. And I love this concept here by Bromo Jumbo, because it's kind of like a old hermit whose beard has just grown into its actual ghostly body at this point. It's got like floating fist, and it just totally fits for Primeape, who's always been angry its whole life. It finally died and got to achieve peace, but it's still trying to throw these hands. I mean, I just speculated all of that because we don't really have much info about it, but I have seen the rumor of a ghost evolution of Primeape running around for a while. But another Pokemon that's apparently getting a new evolution is B-Sharp, which I was really surprised about, or still am surprised if that really ends up coming true, because B-Sharp is already a very strong Pokemon, Dark and Steel type. Don't really think it needs an evolution, but apparently it's getting one, and it looks like whatever the heck those are. Does it mean it's got a pointy hat? Apparently not, according to this fan art concept here, but yeah, B-Sharp evolution, why the heck not? And finally, after all these generations of waiting, it seems we'll finally have Dunsparce evolving into... Why? Man, what is this? I mean, Dunsparce is based off a Japanese folk legend called the Tsuchinoko, which is basically a giant slug. So I could totally see it looking something like this, and maybe even being one of the Titan Pokemon too, if it's just this giant monstrosity of a snail slug thing. And according to the rumors, still gonna be a pure normal type, which is probably the most disappointing thing. Like, yeah, it's just normal type, but does have alternative forms, apparently. So maybe it has one that isn't so monstrous or bulbous and maybe more dragon and mystical looking. And then of course we've got Farigiraf, which has already been confirmed as our first cross-generation evolution, still normal and psychic type. I don't really know how I feel about Farigiraf. Again, not really what I was expecting out of this evolution. I mean, I wasn't even expecting Girafarig to ever evolve, to be honest, so maybe this generation is gonna just completely subvert our expectations of what these Pokemon evolutions should look like, or I guess what people imagine that they would be, except for Primeape. I actually really like the concept for this fighting ghost Primeape, but Bisharp, Dunsparce, Farigiraf, would have never expected those Pokemon to even evolve, and let alone what they might potentially look like. Now finally we've got the legendary Pokemon of Paldea, which so far we only know of Koraidon and Miraidon, and of course Cyclizar, which is listed here in between them in the Pokedex. Very interesting choice. I wonder if that means that Miraidon and Koraidon are in fact the past and future forms of this same Pokemon. But besides for our legendary lizards, we do still have a third legendary as we've had in every other generation. And this time around it seems like it's going to be the Pokemon causing the terastallizing phenomenon that we've actually seen hinted at in the artwork for the flying type Terastal Pikachu. There's this little crystal with what look like eyes, implying that this is, in fact, a Pokemon all on its own. Well, I don't think the Pokemon's just going to be a little floating gem, but apparently kind of like Eternatus was the one that spread the Dynamax energy all over the Galar region. This Pokemon is going to be responsible for the Terastal energy that's in Paldea. We'll have to wait and find out, but something we don't have to wait on is the final 4 legendary Pokemon we've got here as a sort of quartet that have been described as the opposite of the legendary genies or forces of nature, I think they're officially called. These 4 are supposed to be like the opposite evil version of the forces of nature, and so they all share the dark type and are based off animals of Chinese mythology, with the snail, the fish, the deer, and the tiger, I want to say. Or, I guess, leopard. I mean, I was close enough. And this dude seems like he's got an ice sword on his back, so I'm gonna guess, yeah, ice and dark type. Jianbao, meaning leopard, so ice and dark leopard. And they all have a new ability, which apparently debuffs a stat upon entering battle. Kind of like Intimidate, lowers the opponent's attack, but for different stats. We've got the Dinglu Deer, which is gonna be a ground and dark type. The Yu Fish, I love the name there, probably gonna be fire and dark. Yeah, okay, a fire fish, very interesting. And finally, the Jianwo Snail, which apparently carries like mahjong or puzzle pieces on its back and probably grass and dark, yep. So we've got grass, fire, ice, and ground, with all of them being secondary dark type. Looks like a really cool quartet, and I'm really excited to see how we actually catch them in the game, if they're like hidden in very special mythical places across Paldea. Also how they actually relate to the forces of nature, because it said they're kind of like the opposite version of them. Now that finally wraps up the new Paldean Pokedex, but of course we've got one more type of new form in these games, and that is the Paradox forms, or past and future Pokemon. One thing I didn't realize about these past and future forms though is they're based off which game you're playing. So in Pokemon Scarlet you'll find the past form Pokemon, while in Violet you'll find the future form, which does make sense considering Koraidon and Miraidon, the legendary dragons. The only ones we really know for sure so far are the past form of Amoonguss, which we saw leaked a very long time ago, kind of this shaggy mane of grass or moss. I really wonder what type it's gonna be, because right now it's only confirmed half grass, and its secondary typing we have no idea about, but just based off the artwork, it's really hard to tell what secondary typing it might have. And the same kind of goes for Jigglypuff, as the only kind of reference we have for it is that it has little fangs and yellow eyes and seems to be described as an almost vampire, which makes me think fairy and dark type. But more curiously is the fact that it's Jigglypuff getting a form and not Wigglytuff, the final evolution. And I noticed that one of the potential past forms is going to be for Magneton, not Magnezone. So again, a middle stage evolution gets a new form, which is pretty weird, but then again, it's been stated these Pokemon don't evolve at all. Like, it's just the one form. There's no past form of Larvitar, for example, as we've already seen it in the trailers, just regular old baby Larvitar. Then again, it would have to be a future form, I guess, because it's a futuristic Tyranitar. And we don't actually know the types for most of these either, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna change quite a bit. I guess I'm just not super impressed with the concepts that we have for these past and future forms, and so I kind of want to leave it more up to the imagination, at least personally, but it is still nice to at least know which Pokemon might potentially be in which games. And so I want to ask you guys what you think of this roster, like specifically which ones are going to be in Scarlet and which ones are in Violet. Does it change your opinion on which game you're going to end up picking? Let me know in the comments below. Are you Team Scarlet or Team Violet? And which of these new Pokemon are you most excited for? My early pick is definitely the Grass and Fire Pepper. Like, I cannot wait to see what that actually looks like in the game, and especially the evolution, considering it says that it runs behind you irritated. Like, I really want to know what that whole thing is about. And also the coin Pokemon. Like, the whole side quest of collecting the coins seems really interesting, so can't wait to see what that's all about. But that's gonna do it for this video. So again, we'll be back when the actual Pokedex ends up leaking. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.